3, 2, 1. And we're back. This is the Legit Day Job podcast. I'm Cody.
I am deep fried cuttlefish, and we legitimately get paid for this job.
Nope. So close.
Oh. And I'm Kay.
Now you can.
Oh, whoops. Sorry.
It's okay.
It's all right. I don't expect much from deep fried cuttlefish. You're doing better than I ever could have dreamed.
Fair enough.
This is day 12 of the Toho-thon. We're coming close to the end of the Showa era. Today we talked about Space Amoeba, or we're gonna talk about.
We talked about
we
that.
already
talked about it.
You guys missed it. It was a hoot. We already talked about Space Amoeba.
All right.
What a wonderful film.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us for the recap at the end.
That was the podcast. All right, bye.
Well, we still got to talk about Godzilla versus Hedorah. So don't leave quite yet unless you already left. In which case,
Have a good day.
damn.
Come back tomorrow.
Come back in about 3 seconds, and 2 and 1. Welcome back to the Legit Day Job podcast. I'm Cody.
I am deep fried cuttlefish,
And I'm Kay.
and we get paid to do this.
So close.
It is what we do every day.
Today, welcome back to day 12 and a half of Toho-thon. We'll be taking a look at Godzilla versus Hedorah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Who's clapping?
This is the lost tapes. So Space Amoeba. What an interesting one this was. This was the this is the final non-Godzilla film on our roster. So there's that.
There is that.
That does mean that it's just going to be just an onslaught of Godzilla movies from here on out. It was the last film from Ishiro Honda. Or is it? So Space Amoeba was a movie.
Really? It was a movie?
It was a movie. With a pretty interesting plot. I'm only being half serious, half kidding on that one. It genuinely is quite a departure from previous, even non-Godzilla films. The scoop of this film is you got space AIDS. I think you just compared it to Venom.
Yeah,
That's basically what it is. You got this just stuff in space. I don't even know what to call it. It was like glitter.
Oh,
I referred to it as the blue dust.
The blue dust, yes. The blue bedazzled substance. The blue dust.
Yeah.
We seen that before though. That glittery jelly thing.
Have we?
In that Planet one, the other movie.
The planet one.
Yeah, I don't know what it's called. Dorgon.
Gorath?
Yeah.
The one with the comet?
Yeah.
You gotta hit the planet?
Wasn't there like some jelly thing, some glittery jelly?
There?
I swear there was like another Toho movie where
Are you thinking of Dogora, the one with the space jellyfish?
maybe it was that one.
Yeah.
All the space ones are kind of like combining to me now.
Yeah.
It's all melding into one.
Yeah, there's a planet and jelly and the end.
I think you are mixing up Gorath and Dogora.
Oh.
One had a meteor, the other had space jellyfish. Anyway, so yeah, this one it starts off. There's some kind of like space like probe that gets like taken over by Venom, and then it crash lands on Earth, and Venom wants to take over the planet, and he does that by anything it touches like grows Power Ranger style into a giant monster, and that's basic. That's the movie in a nutshell. To be quite frank, the main characters go to this island to take this like deserted supposedly island because some billionaire tycoon wants to make a resort on it. He wants to make Jurassic Park, so he hires a band of misfits to go and like scout out Jurassic Park and take pictures of it. And that's when Venom shows up.
Yeah.
And Yeah, that's genuinely the basic plot of the film.
Yeah. I mean, they know it's not a deserted island. They know that there's
There's like,
indigenous natives there.
yeah, there's like one village of natives. Which was I mistaken, or were there boats on the island? Because there's a dock and people are fishing. Were there fishing boats, or were the natives just fishing?
It's
just fishing. Right?
There's fishing, but it's not like large size fishing boats. It's like, the little canoe things,
gotcha.
little row things.
Yeah, little like kayaks.
Yeah, exactly.
That's still odd when you think about it. Because when I say natives, I mean like these are like copy and paste natives from just about any of the other
From King Kong.
Yeah, like
They sing the same song.
It's the natives from King Kong versus Godzilla. It's natives from Mothra. It's the natives from just about all of these tropical island non-Godzilla Toho films, and yet they also happen to have a hobby of fishing.
And yet they're also modernized in the sense that a good number of them speak Japanese and they have modern textiles.
Well, that was explained because what did they say? They said something like during I think it was World War II, like the island was like not taken over. There was like a Japanese like military installation on the island.
Okay.
And so that's why like all the natives are familiar with Japanese, and they say that they don't like Japanese people because of that, even though that's not really a narrative plot thread. They just say it and then everyone forgets about it.
Okay. I actually completely missed that.
Yeah.
Because
that's
I was really surprised when the abandoned Japanese military bunker showed up. It was like, where the hell did this come from?
We'll get to that. I wrote that. I made a note about that one. We'll get to that in a minute. Let's see. Let's just dive into some of these notes, shall we? So this film, directed by Ishiro Honda, music is unfortunately I believe the last one from Akira Ifukube. I did mention when we watched this though that this does not. This was released after, or this is in production after the death of E.G. Tsuburaya, so he did not return for the special effects, and unfortunately, in my opinion, there's a noticeable difference.
It definitely shows.
The special effects aren't horrible, but there is a noticeable difference in I don't even want to say quality, just style.
Yeah. I'd say quality. When Godzilla, or however you want to pronounce the original Godzilla,
Gojira.
Yeah. When that has more believable special effects than this movie, it's a noticeable dip in quality.
It's not saying a whole lot though, because as early as the immediate second Godzilla film, there was that dip in quality.
I mean, fair.
You really gotta like take that one out of the equation. They struck gold on that one, and then you just gotta compare the rest to each other. What I wrote this down. This was just odd to me. Not necessarily in a bad way. It was just odd. The opening shot was fucking amazing. And then there's never anything else like the opening shot in the entire movie. The opening shot, if you guys don't remember, was this. It was.
You're talking about the shuttle launch?
Yeah, the shuttle launch was against like this, like deep orange sunset as the camera just like slowly zoomed out on the rocket. I mean, like visually, like in terms of colors, it's really nice. The only cinematic, like truly like cinematic by like today's standards shot out of the whole movie. It was just really bizarre compared to everything else. Because everything else, again, wasn't bad. It just no comments from the peanut gallery.
You mean the ghost?
The ghost of Sean is attempting to hijack into our microphones.
Mm-hmm.
Don't worry, I will perform an exorcist.
You will perform an exorcist.
I will perform an exorcist. Just like that, I think it's gone. So anyway,
I still think we're trying to make our listeners' ears bleed.
Well, I'm just trying to protect them from a potential haunting.
Yeah.
So it opens with that really nice shot and then it just kind of goes back to like again, like the rest, like cinematography wasn't bad. Definitely have seen worse. Just it goes from amazing to bland. I was just kind of a little shocked at why they spent so much time on that one shot. It then transitions very quickly to the I don't even, what are they, a newspaper? It transitions to the main characters being like assigned their mission, but I don't remember who the people were that assigned it to them. Because you had the photographer, Peter Parker, who was talking to J.K. Simmons, and he was like, "I need photographs of this island." But I don't think it was clear if he was like his boss or if he was like the guy trying to make something on the island. I don't remember.
I think the one that hired him is the guy who's trying to make something on the island.
Oh, okay.
Or at least the intermediary for him. He's like, Peter Parker's like, hey, I want to go take pictures of a rocket ship. And then island owner dude is like, hey, listen, I really want you to take pictures of this island and explore it for me. And it's like, oh, it actually happens to be near this space shuttle pod crash.
Gotcha.
What? Why not? Why not go and do your thing so I can do my thing while I'm at it?
Either way, I wrote this down as a note. I don't know if either of you noticed this. I wrote down the fact that them needing pictures of this place was completely redundant and pointless. Would you like to take a guess why? Again, you might not have noticed it, but it stuck out like a sore thumb to me, and I was just, my jaw was just dropped. I was like, what?
If I'm going to take a wild guess, I don't know what you're talking about, but I'm going to take a wild guess and say they already had photos or something.
Yep. Partially. So right behind the boss on the wall are 3 massive printed framed photos of the place. He points to him and says, "This is the island."
Oh.
I would like pictures of this island, as he points to the photos that they already have on top of a 1-to-1 scale model of the entire island mapped out on the table right in front of them. They have photos and they have a scale model. What do they need more photos of?
To be fair, Peter Parker isn't hired to take pictures of the landscape. He's specifically hired to take pictures of not the indigenous natives, but the indigenous creatures on the island. They're trying to survey the natural
they're trying to survey
habitat. So
that was part of it.
Technically, he's on a research team to research the creatures that live on the island. Yeah.
That was part of it.
Although it's weird that they hire some random photographer to be part of an ecology team.
Yeah. I just thought it was bizarre. Like I'll buy it just because this the general plot of the film, it doesn't have a whole lot going for it. Like it's just very basic things to set up just a wacky adventure on this island. So I'll buy it. I just think it's still, even that one is really pushing it, because they sent someone there already to take those pictures. They would have had that information already. Anyway. The one thing I did note, what was kind of refreshing, it kind of overstayed its welcome, but it was refreshing, was the fact that this one much more serious in tone, at least compared to the last 5 movies we watched, which they are all geared towards children. This one didn't bother with any of that. It was just a good old fashioned, just Shiro Honda, just monster movie. It was a nice change of pace, especially considering the movie's upcoming. It just kind of overstayed its welcome, just because while it is a little more serious in tone, it is, again, just it's like they just wanted to do the monster movie and then just needed an excuse, because the characters really aren't that interesting. They don't really have a purpose there. They're just there as like a vehicle for the audience.
Yeah.
I actually don't remember too much of the movie. I mean, I slept a little bit because I got sleepy, but Yeah, I don't remember too much because like all the island, the plot is like kind of the same with all the other.
Yeah, that's what I mean too. Like there's nothing like inspired. There's no outside of like the actual alien concept, which I was digging. Like again, that one was also a nice change of pace. It's definitely unique from any of the other Toho Shiro Honda movies. Like the concept of there being like like Venom coming down and just kind of mutating things, whatever it touches. That was cool. Everything else was pretty generic and by the numbers. Like it's like they just pulled just things from a whole bunch of different movies just to create a plot around that premise of Venom coming down and just mutating things. Which kind of
Actually, on that note, there's something very specific that stood out to me strangely.
okay.
So if I'm being really generous with the timeline of this movie,
Yeah.
I'd say I'd give it up to like a week is over the.
Oh, you mean like how much time has passed on the island?
Yeah.
Okay.
So from the space probe
Crashing down.
coming back into Earth
Right.
4 months earlier or whatever,
So
or
you-
after 4 months, sorry,
Right.
to when our main characters get rescued off the island from a boat.
Right. So start to finish.
We'll call it 7 days ish,
Sure.
right?
Yeah. Seems believable.
How the hell did the natives already know of the 3 monsters that come on land and have specific names for them? They have. So
Well,
the first
knew
one they
of-
have is a giant cuttlefish,
Right. Which
called
Gazora.
Gazora.
Yeah, I wrote that one down.
And then they have the crab Ganime,
I
and
did.
then the turtle. I forgot its name. I didn't catch it,
I
so
don't think I wrote down the names for the other two.
I just have it written down as turtle. They have names for these threes,
Yeah.
and they actually worship them and have traditions based around these 3 monsters.
Well, specifically Gazora. They specifically worship and have traditions for Gazora. The other two just kind of show up and then they just somehow have a name for it.
So how do they have a whole like religion based around Gazora if Gazora hasn't even existed for more than like 3-4 days by the time they encounter it? Or has the Space Amoeba been living on Earth for much longer and it just so happens that it finds Gazora or something? I don't know.
Well, there's a very simple answer, my friend, and that is that these aren't very faithful people.
Fair enough.
That kind of leads into a massive string of notes I took. I mean, I say a massive string of notes just because I wrote down a whole bunch of different things, but they all relate to the same thing, which I did take a note on, which is that the island itself is just one massive MacGuffin. In the sense that things happen when they are the most convenient, but make absolutely no logical sense. For example, our 4 main characters show up on the island, right?
Mhm.
They show up on the beach of the island. Keep in mind, one of these characters isn't supposed to be with the party. The party itself is 3 characters. There's the photographer, what I can only assume is the scientist, and then there's the chick.
Mhm.
I don't
Yeah.
remember what her purpose was other than to scream at literally everything.
She was scared of everything.
She literally scared of
scared of a
everything.
rock,
Like
too.
she did the whole like King Kong damsel in distress scream at seeing a
rock.
normal turtle.
Yep.
A normal turtle moving snail's pace like 5 feet away from her. She like borderline Scooby-Doo jumped into some guy's arms over a turtle. She does that for like every small thing.
Mhm.
I think she does it to a plant.
She
right?
does it to them too.
She does
Yeah.
it to
To like when they like run in and like
yeah. She does it to literally everything. So those are the 3 main characters, and then just tacked on randomly or seemingly randomly is this 4th guy who right off the bat is obviously sketch, but the main characters are just idiots, and they just like they're on the cruise ship going to the island, and this like mafia looking guy just sits down at the table. He's like, "Hey, I know where you're going. I'm gonna come along with you," and they're like, "Oh, cool, yeah, more the merrier. Why not?" And he's like twirling his mustache. And he's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna join you guys." And they're like, "Yeah, cool, whatever."
I mean,
Why not?
to be fair, Peter Parker is suspicious from the very second that he
They're
meets them.
suspicious from the
He
start.
just
that
he
doesn't
just
change the
doesn't-
fact that they let him come
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah, they
You
just
can be
don't
suspicious
act
all
on
you
it.
want. if you think the school shooter's got a gun but you don't say anything, you're still an idiot. So yeah, and this fourth character, again, seemingly random at first. There is a somewhat it's a non-plot twist where he's actually from a competing company that wants to steal their research notes. I say it's a non-twist because when he reveals that twist, he then immediately says, "But I don't care because we're all on the same boat now together." So that was you could have just cut him. I mean, okay. He serves another role later on, but his character was basically like that explanation was he could have just been another member of the crew. It would have made no difference. Yeah. But anyway, so the whole island's a MacGuffin. And so where was it? Oh, that's right. So the four of them, they show up on the island. They're on the beach, right? And for some reason, they start setting up camp on the beach, like still where the waves can reach them, like you would at like Santa Cruz. Like they put up like a beach umbrella, start laying out their stuff.
They wanted a tan, and
they straight up were like, I guess we'll just sleep here. And then like right on cue, out of nowhere, one of the natives shows up in like a Jeep, and he's like, "Hey, come, don't worry, I'll take you to camp. I'll take you to the village."
Well, it's a native and the surviving researcher that was there on the island before they got there.
Yes. Either way, they still showed up conveniently on cue.
True.
But that was the least MacGuffin of the MacGuffin. It's like a slow buildup to just absolute nonsense. So there's that. Let's see, what was the next one? They when they start researching, like actually charting out the island, like the next day, they out of absolutely nowhere. You can't even argue this one. There's no explanation for it. Out of nowhere, they all have scuba suits and harpoon guns. They did not have that with them. I don't care what they did not have a harpoon gun packed on board with them. You can't even say that the military shack later on had a harpoon. No one on this island would have a need for a harpoon gun. That came out of nowhere. That was the first major MacGuffin, the first major convenience that I noticed, where they just magically had stuff. But whatever. All right. No, whatever.
Even before that, unless this is all the same day. Is this the same day that they go up to?
I'm pretty sure this is within the same day.
Mountain Cave. Okay.
I think so. Yeah.
Then I missed that in particular, but Mountain Cave.
Yeah. They find conveniently a cave, like a giant hole in the mountain that leads into a very convenient cave / set. Like it's just a very convenient, just carved out living quarters inside the mountain. They don't even say like it was like they play it off like it was natural.
I think you and I are thinking of different caves because I'm thinking of they get there.
Am I confusing the cave with the last movie?
Surviving researcher is like freaking out about Godzilla.
Right.
And they're like, well, the first thing we want to explore is this cave at inside the mountain.
Right.
And dude's like freaking out about Godzilla or whatever.
Right.
And they go up to the cave in the mountain.
I am thinking.
And then
I confused the cave with Son of Godzilla.
Cave? Oh,
I'm on the same page now. Yeah, they go into the cave and there's
then just so happens that the minute they go in the cave,
Godzilla shows up.
Blue glow shows up,
yes.
And I think Godzilla even has like tentacles come out of the pool, and they're like, "Oh God!"
No, they don't show it yet.
Do they not?
No, what happened was they ran into that cave, and it just ran immediately into like a little alcove that led back into the ocean. And the survivor,
it gave him a watch.
Yeah, it like the water, like the lights came up, and it looked like they did the thing where the water's like bursting, like something's gonna come out of it.
Oh, that's right.
And then it just hard cuts to like the watch, like just on the ground, but like you don't see the Godzilla, you don't see any of the tentacles or anything like that. It's that tied into another note I had, which is Godzilla is basically just a troll, because the only thing Godzilla does up until its abrupt death, which I wasn't expecting, they straight up just kill it off within like the first 20-30 minutes. At the time, this is also the only established monster. Like the other two just show up. I mean, there's an explanation for it, but as of right now, we're led to believe there's only one monster. And so them killing it off definitely subverted my expectations, if you would. But I wrote down that Godzilla is an omniscient troll because he only shows up when either like they establish this, like they straight up say it. He only shows up if you A, try to leave, or B, say or think anything bad about it. They say very early on, like the survivor, he's like, don't you dare talk bad about Ghidorah. Like he can telepathically read your heart. He knows what you're feeling. You don't remember that?
I remember that
yeah.
now. I remember that now.
So Ghidorah is just a giant squid troll. Like he doesn't really do much other than just troll people. He presumably telepathically knows that the survivor is like having a psychotic mental like existential breakdown, and so all it doesn't eat him. Just throws his brother's watch, just to mess with him, which then prompts the survivor guy to attempt to leave the island, and that's when Ghidorah shows up and eats him.
In the ocean, no less. Like Ghidorah somehow teleports from inside of the cave to the ocean beach and then runs on land faster than the Jeep was able to get back to the hut.
Yes. I mean, I'll believe it because he's a troll like that. And I also say he's a troll because there's another there's like a native with the survivor, and when he runs back into the shack to like start like packing up all his shit, he's like, I'm leaving now. There's a native with him who's like trying to like calm him down. That's when Ghidorah shows up, and Ghidorah only eats the survivor who's trying to leave. Doesn't touch the native because he's just a troll like that.
There was an explanation for that. He did try to attack and kill the native, but before Ghidorah is able to do that, the bats show up.
That's right. Yeah, the bats do show up.
Right, and that's why the native is now all comatose, and he has those frostbite wounds
That's right.
on his chest,
That's
which
right.
brings me into one of my notes about.
I was just about to mention that. Yeah,
Ghidorah is Squid Elsa for some reason. They say that his body temperature is like below 0 degrees or is at 0 degrees Fahrenheit.
They either say it's at 0 or it's near 0. Point is, they make it very clear that you don't want to touch this thing.
Yeah.
And they if you touch it, you just get like instantaneous frostbite,
which
kind of thing.
Still doesn't make sense if something's at 0 degrees Celsius or even 0 degrees Fahrenheit, which is lower.
Yeah.
It won't give you instantaneous frostbite just to touch it.
Yeah. I get what they were trying to do with that. At least I can assume, because they don't really give any hints. I'm pretty sure I understand the logic of it, which is that since the space venom is from space, like it itself has like 0 body temperature.
Okay.
Thus, whatever it mutates retains it. That's what I imagine is what they were going for. So I'll buy it. What I don't buy, and this brings me back into the everything's a MacGuffin, is when they're scuba diving, they straight up touch it after they establish that if it touches you, you will basically die because of the frostbite, right? Like you'll basically die before it has the chance to eat you because you'll just freeze to death. So they're underwater. There's 2 guys scuba diving. There's the photographer and the lead scientist guy. They're scuba diving underwater, and Ghidorah grabs them both. They don't have gloves on. He grabs them both, and they start squirming, and both of them try and unwrap themselves from the tentacles. So both of them physically touch the thing, and they get off scot-free. Yeah. They go back out of the water, and not even a word is mentioned about the temperature of it. So there's a MacGuffin.
Plot armor is strong.
Let's see. I think I mentioned the natives. Oh no, I mentioned that the Jeep showed up conveniently. However, the natives showed up conveniently too, because the Jeep showed up, and that's fine, whatever, right? They established there was a surviving, like another researcher there who was a survivor, whatever. They never established the natives until the survivor was like, oh, by the way, there's a village here. Then they show up, and the village is empty. Okay. Then out of nowhere, all the natives show up. Like not in the same scene. I forget what prompts the natives to show up.
No, it's the same scene, because so they go to the village.
No. I remember
dragging
what it was.
Comatose guy into the village, and they show that all the villagers are hiding from the Japanese because they hate them.
Yeah,
and then out of nowhere they swarm all the Japanese, be like, "Hey, we hate you guys! Get out of here!"
It wasn't that. I remember what it was. I mean, you're right. They did do that. Like they showed the natives like just briefly, like that they're hiding, But what happened was, I don't remember why, someone needed medical attention.
Yeah, which was comatose homeboy.
And that's when the natives
Rico.
came. That's when the natives. Rico. How could I forget Rico? The only good space amoeba is a dead space amoeba. That's when the natives showed up.
Yeah,
was to conveniently these natives with spears and sticks and fire have the medical capabilities of healing.
I can actually do one better on their convenient show ups.
Okay.
Near the beginning of the movie, so there's before our main cast shows up,
Right.
they establish that there's 2 researchers on the island for the company already.
When they're fishing.
One of them's an engineer,
Yeah.
and one of them's our survivor that we've been talking about.
Right.
Um,
Engineer gets bites the dust.
they go out into the water to fish for fresh food, so that way the rest of the researchers don't have to eat canned food when they arrive.
Right.
And they go to a little alcove that's supposedly forbidden to fish in or whatever.
Right.
Which
They would
further
upset
establishing,
Ghidorah.
yeah, further establishing the whole like religion of Godzilla or whatever. Even though Godzilla literally has only existed for like 2 days at this point.
Like I said,
But
they're
digressing.
unfaithful.
I'm digressing. They go, they fish. The engineer gets eaten in front of the survivor, and the survivor starts to run away.
Yeah.
And suddenly, the head shaman of the indigenous people
Yeah.
is just there to scold him
Yeah.
out of nowhere. It's
Yeah.
like, okay, sorry. Anyway,
Yeah. A whole bunch of convenient things. However, even all of this was pretty. I could accept all of it. Where the film just kind of derailed in terms of plot convenience and the island being a literal MacGuffin is when Ghidorah showed up later on, like when they decided they're going to try and kill it. This was before they established that the weakness was like sonic frequencies, like from bats and dolphins and whatnot. This was when they just decided they were going to try and just kill it with like fire, because they did establish that it was afraid of fire, I think.
they were trying to logic out that because its body is so
That's what
cold,
it was.
it needs to stay cold in order
Yeah.
to live. So they're going to burn it with fire in
Yeah.
order to kill it.
And this is where it officially started derailing in terms of the island literally being a MacGuffin, because they say that and they go, okay, cool. That thing is like 300 feet tall. Or, I mean, that's an exaggeration. But the point is, that's a big giant squid. We're going to need a big giant campfire. Everyone, like the main characters, like look around, look at the natives. Like, then these natives are, you know, when I say they're like cookie cutter from the other like Godzilla and non-Godzilla films, I also mean in appearance. Like these are like tribesmen wearing like loincloths, and like the head chief is wearing like some like flamboyant like headdress kind of thing, right? So the main characters look over at them and see that, and they go,
Except for Rico and his fiance, who are indigenous people, except Rico's wearing like an orange button-up shirt and his fiance is wearing like a sundress with flowers.
That's understandable. That's understandable. He's also the only one that's given a name, so of course he would be clothed.
Well, and his fiance is named Saki.
Right. They're both named.
Yeah.
Thus, you know, we can't have like 50 tribesmen running around and someone goes, "Hey, Rico," and it's like, wait, which one's Rico again? Like, you know, they got to be clothed, obviously.
Okay.
Point is, yeah. So the main characters, they go, "Hey, we need a whole bunch of fire," and they look around and they go, "There's no way in hell you guys have like 100 gallons of gasoline. But by any chance, do you guys have 100 gallons of gasoline?" Before they can even finish the sentence, all the natives just show up. Everyone's holding like a paint can's worth of gasoline. And just out of nowhere,
Yeah.
there's no there's an explanation in a little bit, but that's even more of a MacGuffin. But anyway, so they start laying out all this gasoline, and then they kill Ghidorah with the fire, with the explosions. Okay, I'll believe it as much as I can after everyone magically obtaining gasoline.
If you don't mind me interjecting here,
Oh.
just because we accidentally skipped past it real quick.
Oh.
Back to the special effects
Yes.
being bad.
Yeah, I wouldn't say bad. Noticeable dip in quality, but not bad compared to some of the others.
There's one thing in particular that I find to be outright bad.
The compositing was pretty bad.
So
I will say that.
when Ghidorah, when our squid monster kills our survivor,
Yeah.
they have the the guy in the suit like literally have the tentacles grab around the guy
Yeah.
and kill him.
Yeah, that one was bad.
Between that and them cooking Gezora shows up to the village and just decides to wreak havoc. One, I don't remember seeing Gezora actually kill anybody when he goes and attacks the village, but
Yep.
that's kind of beside the point. However, in that scene, they, instead of having the suit grab people and throw them around, they switch to this random bit of animation where they literally just draw this green tentacly blob.
Yeah, it
That's obviously like cartoon colors,
it
and use that to grab and throw the people.
it reminded me a lot of the effects that were briefly used in Dagora.
It's just so jarring to have random cartoons show up in my live action movie.
Yeah, I agree. It's very, very jarring to have animation show up in your live action movie. We'll get to that in the next film in
That was
just
like
a
in the
minute.
next, in
yeah.
the next movie. There's a lot.
But yeah, no, yeah. The compositing was the worst aspect of the film. I don't. Would you say it's the worst compositing that we've seen so far? I don't know if I can call it the worst compositing.
I wouldn't say it's the worst.
It's definitely up there as
We've seen the Microsoft Paint effect.
That's right. Yeah,
That
this
was
isn't
one
the
of
worst.
that was
This
one really bad.
this isn't the worst in special effects, but it is pretty close. It's up there, at least in terms of compositing. Everything else is pretty average.
Yeah.
But the compositing specifically with those specific scenes, it's pretty bad, noticeably bad.
Yeah.
Anyway, so after they kill off Gezora with the gasoline, all of a sudden now there's a second monster, a giant crab.
Mhm.
What was it?
Lobster.
Genma? Was that what it was?
Ganime.
Ganime. It's like anime but with a G. It's like Fanime but with a G. So Fanime shows up.
Yeah.
Anime is the end of the month, by the way.
Oh, perfect timing. This episode is sponsored by Fanime. Go support your local Fanime.
I'll be there.
We will be there. Yeah, we will
You
be
will
there. We
You
will
will be there?
We will be there. Yes, the legit Day Job podcast will be at Fanime.
Yeah.
Come check us out on our panel.
Come say
We're
hi
doing,
to deep fried cuttlefish.
I'm not giving out autographs.
No autographs. No
No.
autographs. We don't have the budget for that. We will be doing a live Q&A though, so please come check us out. You get all the info on the legitdayjobpodcast.org.
I will not be present though.
Of course. Only of our voice. We'll be live streaming it.
Yeah, but we will be there.
We will be there. Yes.
Just our voices will be at the panel.
Well, we'll be recording in a private booth in the back, and we'll live stream it onto a TV screen for you guys. But yeah, come check us out live at Fanime 2019. So anyway, so Fanime shows up, and then everyone goes, "Well, shit, we used up all of our gasoline." And then the main characters like look at everyone with their loincloths and their spears, and they go, "Hey, you guys probably don't have an unlimited supply of guns and ammunition, but by any chance, just curiosity, do you guys have an unlimited supply of guns and ammunition?" Before they can even finish their sentence, the head chieftain walks over like 10 feet behind him and opens. You guys remember the opening of Shrek when he comes out of the can?
Yeah.
Yeah. He opens that toilet from the beginning of Shrek, and inside is like an Indiana Jones level, like just inventory of weapons. And that is the MacGuffin, because from this point on, they start pulling out the most random shit on this island. They pull out of nowhere. Everyone becomes armed with assault rifles. No, I'm sorry, not assault rifles. Just rifles.
Yeah, it's keep in mind the era of this movie.
It came out in 1970.
Yeah. They're like they're either M1 Garens or M14s.
Yeah, they're like
bolt action rifles, but they're still military rifles.
Yeah, they tried to write this off as, oh yeah, that military base, they just left all this shit. No, they didn't. No way.
No way in hell.
No way in hell.
No way
But
in hell.
anyway, so literally everyone on the island is now equipped with these bolt action rifles. Randomly, I love this part. Hang on, I gotta take this as I wrote these notes down. This shit gets wild.
And everybody on the island just so happens to be trained with these things.
Of course. Um, so they never have to worry about ammo or weapons again. Sometimes randomly people will just start chucking grenades. Like they just pull grenades out of nowhere. Again, like they don't even show the shed anymore. They just establish it visually as just like that's where all this shit's coming from. So everyone has bolt action rifles. People randomly will just start chucking grenades. I laughed my ass off at this one. Out of nowhere, like 3 guys come out of nowhere and bring out like a turret. Like they bring out this giant ass out of nowhere. And they just start unloading on it. Like just
Ducka.
I'm like, what? What?
My favorite is how the Peter Parker is more or less the main character of this movie.
Yeah.
So my favorite part is how the main character suddenly becomes Deadshot.
Yeah.
And
He
manages
becomes
within 2 shots shoot out each of crab people's eyes.
He and the chick are being chased by Fanime onto Pride Rock as last seen in Lion King. And the note I wrote down was just that Plot Jesus is an expert marksman, expert acrobat, and an expert rock climber in that order.
Oh, that's right.
Because first he just like while they're sprinting up this mountain, he turns around, does a 360 no scope, shoots out in one shot, just blows up one of the eyes of this crab. One shot. Mm-hmm. Then they get up to the thing, and they let the crab follow them up to this like the peak of the mountain. Right, their backs are like up against like the edge of it, and he just turns around, just 360 no scopes the other eye. Mm-hmm. 2 shots, all it takes, and then this guy he just dives without even looking because he's still facing the crab, right? So he just turns around and just leaps off this mountain. Keep in mind, this wasn't like a plan. It's not like this wasn't like it's not like everyone was like, okay, so you're gonna lead this crab up this mountain. No, they just randomly ran up this mountain. So he just jumps off, leap of faith, and out of nowhere grabs on, like this is a mountain, like rock. So out of nowhere there's this tree branch sticking out of the mountain, which he grabs onto and like an acrobat like flips around on it. And he like baits he trolls, admittedly. He becomes the troll. Because then the crab just dives off of it, except it's a 200-foot crab, so it just falls. Meanwhile, he like flips around and jumps back onto the mountain. I don't know, he jumps onto the cliff of the mountain, like this like straight, just vertical rock, and then he just climbs up it like it's nothing.
Yeah.
Like it's nothing. This guy's got biceps of steel.
Forearms, that's what gives you that grip strength.
Oh, I mean, yeah. This whole man, he is the mountain.
This Titan can like crush skulls in the palms of his hands. There's no footholds on this mountain. It's a little cracky and rocky and stuff, so there's some texture to it, but not a whole lot. So this man's basically just fingertip grip climbing up a sheer cliff face.
So then the crab dies, and then the space venom, space AIDS, infects a turtle, and now there's a giant turtle.
Well, I thought it infects. So when the crab dies, they establish the blue goo. Leaving the crab. Yeah,
that's when they establish like what's happening.
Yeah,
because up until this point, it was just hey, there's a giant squid. Okay, we killed it. Hey, there's a giant crab. Cool, we killed it. Yeah. They established then what was happening.
Yeah. So the blue goo leaves the crab. The crab, just to throw it out there, the crab got blown up. So at the bottom of the cliff, there just so happened to be a giant deposit of gasoline and black powder just sitting down there. So Plot Jesus crawls up the mountain, grabs his rifle again, shoots the gasoline, explodes the crab.
Yeah.
Then we watch blue goo leave the crab.
Yeah.
And just now it's the goo just so happens to decide to be split into multiple bodies.
Yeah.
It obviously got blown up, but while it's split into multiple bodies, half of it infects a turtle and makes a turtle monster.
Yeah.
And the other half
infects another crab.
No. The other half.
Oh, it infects the
Mr. Super Secret Spy Agent Man who didn't really need to be there.
Yeah,
grabs a stick, pokes the remains of like the leg of the crab.
Yeah,
and then the blue goo comes out of there and infects him.
Yeah, and then it like mind possesses him.
Yeah, And then there's also just out of nowhere, it doesn't show anywhere where this happens,
The
but
crab comes
another
back.
crab comes back out of nowhere.
Yeah. And then that leads into the climax of the film. And the film ends very abruptly, just like this segment that we're talking about the movie, because we have to move on. So we're gonna end this discussion on this movie abruptly, just like the movie.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why I was confused.
Rapid
sleeping.
fire recap.
Long story short, guy becomes possessed. Guy goes, ha, 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 I'm gonna take over the world. And then the monsters, they just start fighting each other. And then the guy jumps in the volcano, Lord of the Rings style. The end.
Yeah. Well, there is a point that I want to circle around back to, but that can come after Godzilla versus Hedorah.
Yeah, if we got some time. I do have a couple fun facts. But what did you guys think of Space Amoeba?
1 out of 10.
It
Because I don't
is-
remember much, and all of the plots just like combining with all the other plots. So it's just because I don't even know if I'm talking about the same movie, even if I'm looking at my notes.
It has a lot of generic plot threads. It had something genuinely interesting in it, which was the alien stuff. That was pretty unique. That was pretty interesting.
The only thing different for me was the monsters, and that was it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like the alien goo.
Oh.
Like that concept was really interesting and unique. They just didn't really do a whole lot with it, unfortunately.
Yeah.
What did you think?
Sean?
Fried calamari.
I give it crab, turtle, and squid oh my out of Lion, Witch, and Wardrobe.
Yes.
That's great score.
Excellent. Fantastic. So, let's see. I already mentioned that. Oh, yes. The original script of this film
Your
was
score.
the original script of this film was far more ambitious than the final product. In which the original script for the film had the three kaiju invading the Earth and literally sinking entire continents. Like they basically destroy the entire planet straight up before like the climax of the film in the original script would have had multiple nuclear weapons fired at these guys. like they basically would have just destroyed the entire planet. Literally like sinking continents, forcing like whatever survivors of the planet is left, their last option is to launch like every nuke left at these things. That was the original ending. That sounds pretty badass. I'm not gonna lie.
Why didn't we watch that movie? What the
That
hell?
sounds pretty damn badass.
That would have been a lot better.
The reason why that had to be scrapped was due to budget and time constraints. This film, much like the previous couple films, was under extreme pressure by Toho to be constantly made cheaper and cheaper and cheaper, which is interesting, just considering that they're now enforcing these standards on Honda and his crew. For example, Shiro Honda originally wanted to film the entire thing in Guam, but due to Toho just insisting on tighter and tighter budget, they instead had to shoot it on just some random island south of Tokyo.
Okay.
The whole film, the entire cast was dressed for a tropical setting, but it was actually like the middle of winter when they filmed. So rest in peace, those actors. Probably the most important trivia fact I have on the production, though, is that this is actually the final film that was made under Toho's extremely tight studio system. After this film, Toho basically just dissolved everything. In another last-ditch effort to save money, also due to the fact that labor unions were becoming a thing more and more, their last-ditch effort to just combat the labor union costs was they opened an entirely new branch to develop future films. They basically canceled all of their contracts with all their actors and their production staff. They dissolved the entire special effects department. They shut everything down basically and just started from scratch just to save a couple bucks, essentially. Which is a shame. and that probably explains some things. I don't have any info on like what the budget was or how long it took to film, but I could imagine if the last films are any indication, I probably imagine this was shot in just a couple weeks. But that was Space Amoeba. An unfortunately bland film because there was potential there.
Yep.
Complete opposite of that statement is Godzilla versus Hedorah. Oh boy. A lot has already been said about this film. A lot has already been said. The general recap of this film is basically pollution is bad, and if you don't recycle, kids, Godzilla's gonna come and Godzilla. I'm sorry. If you don't recycle, kids, a literal piece of shit will come out and kill you.
Yep.
And Godzilla will have to save the day. So recycle.
Yeah.
Eat your vegetables. Use go electric cars. Pollution's bad.
Yeah.
There's the title monster Hedorah literally is created from kind of created from pollution. They go into his interesting origin, which I think I took a note of. But yeah, you got this monster created from pollution and bad stuff, and it keeps growing and growing and growing, and the more it grows, the more it'll bad things will happen, and grow so much that Godzilla starts having trouble with it. Yeah. Basically, Godzilla versus fog. Yeah. Godzilla versus the ozone layer.
Piece of crap.
Yeah.
Godzilla versus a turd.
Which I refer to after the very beginning of the movie as Muck, like the Pokemon Muck.
Yes.
Yeah.
That very much is what it is.
Yeah.
It wastes no time at all getting to the pollution is bad message.
Oh no, it's literally the opening scene is a woman singing about
it literally
pollution is bad.
Yeah, it literally opens with a song like a James Bond opening, but just of like a funky groovy song of pollution is bad.
Yeah.
There's I have so many notes, but really there's only one word I can use to describe this film. Like everything about this film can be summed up in one word. Mm-hmm. Bizarre.
I thought you were going to say groovy.
Bizarre is what I was going to say. The cinematography is bizarre. There's a lot of really like everywhere for like no real reason. There's just a lot of bizarre zooming and freeze frames, like almost like The Office kind of zoom ins, like on just characters. I half expected them to just look at the camera like The Office, and just random freeze frames. Let's see. It's neither comedic nor is it taking itself seriously. It rides that line in the sense, what I mean specifically by that is you have this whack ass premise of a monster that is born of pollution that hits you over the head repeatedly, buries you in the subject matter of pollution is bad. That in itself is comical. The way it's done is comical in that regard.
Yeah. No, this movie does not have a point so much as it has a sledgehammer beats you over the skull with.
It has a sledgehammer that has the word pollution like marked on it, and it just beats you with it. But it does so, like, again, borderline comically. But then on the flip side, you have scenes where the smog monster, Hedorah, Muck, is flying over people, and it very graphically shows them dissolve into skeletons in front of a child. It's like it goes to both ends of the extreme, which honestly works in the film's favor. It's because it's consistently bizarre, start to finish. It consistently bounces back from one end of the spectrum to the other. It goes from a woman. It goes from even not even the opening. Very early on in the film, it just has a random acid trip dance disco scene where the one of the characters is just at a bar, and it's like it's in the 70s, so it's a 70s like disco dance, trippy psychedelic. Like
it's a groovy bar.
It's a groovy bar, man. and then a literal pile of shit comes down the stairs and covers a cat in sludge. And everyone screams.
Oh, that poor cat.
Oh, you're forgetting the part where the character gets so drunk that he hallucinates everyone having fish heads. While they're singing about pollution
that's true.
again.
Yeah, he gets so drunk that he just imagines everyone with just fish masks. That's one end of this extreme where it just gets that just weird and comical. And then the other end of the extreme is when without any sense of comedy whatsoever, we'll just again cut to these horrifying graphic scenes from the perspective of a small child. but it bounces back and forth, and I gotta say it's consistent. I don't know what the tone is, but it's something, and it does it consistently. It creates its own bizarre style, which I gotta give it props for. It definitely holds your attention through and through. Yeah. Let's see what else is bizarre. The animation.
Oh yeah, the painting animations.
That's right. So like 4 or 5 times randomly. I have no idea why. This is just one of those things where the whole film's just bizarre. This is just one of those bizarre things. It's not like they ran out of money. Just it'll cut to a random 2D animation, the extent of which varies. Sometimes, like one scene in particular, it'll cut to a 2D animation of what Hedorah is actually doing. Like think of like a if you go to see a musical, how they treat the musical numbers as a way to like bridge like time gap, so to speak, right? It does that, but with a 2D animation where it shows Hedorah evolving into its next stage. By the way, the monster evolves into several forms, like a Dragon Ball Z villain. It shows it evolving into its next form in a 2D animation, like an oil painted, like it looks like an oil painting almost. Yeah. 2D animation. But then also at the same time, there are other 2D animations, which is just like it's like someone's narrating a Dr. Seuss book where it's just like talking about, yeah, pollution is bad, kids. Yeah. Like it shows like a factory, like grabbing a bunch of shit and then Hedorah.
That's the one that was sticking out in my mind is like, it's literally showing a factory that's obsessed with destroying any little bursts of nature that are coming out around it.
And then Hedorah comes over and destroys the factory and like grows larger.
Yeah.
Like just like symbolic things like that, which is just so bizarre.
Which may I state how bizarre it is that they chose to have Muck destroy the factory that's destroying nature instead of like symbolize him assisting the factory that's destroying nature. Like, in a weird way in that animation, you'd almost think that they're supposed to try and make Muck the good guy.
Well, the intention was, because if I remember correctly, I think that animation comes into play immediately after they say something to the extent of Hedorah is feeding off of the pollution. So I think what the implication was that you have this massive like factory that's eating, because the animation, like the art or how they represented the factory was massive. Like the things it's picking up is like trees, and it's picking them up like King Kong would pick up a human.
Yeah.
And then Hedorah sits on it, shits on it, and then grows like twice the size of the factory itself. So I think what they were trying to imply was that pollution is bad, but Hedorah is even worse.
Okay.
Just in a really bizarre way. I'll give him props where props is due. The Hedorah suit is absolutely revolting. The suit itself looks like this is what I wrote down. The suit itself looks like a shaggy carpet dragged through mud.
Yeah.
And then it'll just randomly, like that's the suit, like what the guy's actually in, right? Mm-hmm. And then when it needs to cut to things, because keep in mind, this is supposed to be a monster literally made of pollution, right? So whenever things like it gets flung around whenever Hedorah gets flung around, little like globs of shit will just fly everywhere. Mm-hmm. So it'll cut from this suit that looks like a shaggy carpet that was dragged through the mud, and it'll just cut to like a couple guys playing poker in the basement, and then someone literally threw a pile of shit through their window, because it'll just cut to just like a slime ball. Yeah. There's absolutely just disgusting slime ball just flying everywhere. I mean, that's what the intent was. So props.
Yeah, give props to the monster design in the sense that this is what they were going for. They were trying to make something that was absolutely revolting and horrifying.
Doesn't change just how bizarre it is, though.
Yeah.
Don't you hate when that happens? When people
I hate when I'm just trying to have a nice, relaxing poker match in my basement, and then I drown in literal shit.
That dissolves you into a skeleton.
That dissolves me into a skeleton. This unlike previous Godzilla films, which took this series in the direction of Godzilla is a protector of children, or like friends with children. It's a children's show. This one doesn't stray too much from that. This one just transitions it more to Godzilla is the protector of the planet, which, you know, that's not really that subtle. He's literally fighting pollution. But it takes it a bit further in the campiness of the fighting, where Godzilla is like straight up squaring up against Hedorah.
He's got like his left arm. He constantly turns into like a windmill arm, like he's winding it up.
Yeah, he's straight up like squaring up to fight this thing, but not in like a boxing match kind of way. He's squaring up like I would imagine two middle schoolers might in the parking lot.
If they were drunk.
If they were drunk. He's like borderline, he's like jumping like to the left or the right. He's like just winding up his fists. He keeps like motioning Hedorah to like come closer, like
swing first, bro. Swing first.
It's so he keeps rubbing his nose, like trying to insult Hedorah, like, yeah, you smell like shit. Come on, man.
What was with the chin thing? He was always doing like that.
So he was wiping his nose, but he also like would sometimes like scratch Mr. Miyagi scratch his chin.
Yeah, I have no idea what that one was. So that was also, I mean, the campiness, I keep saying, again, the whole film's bizarre, but this isn't necessarily a negative. I genuinely enjoy this film just because of how just unapologetically bizarre it is. Mm-hmm. This is without a doubt the weirdest Godzilla film ever made, but in a good way.
For example, one of the characters decides that, hey, in light of the pollution being bad and this muck monster deciding to try and kill all of us, and in light of the potential apocalypse coming, we should all climb up Mount Fuji and have a go-go party in the middle of Mount Fuji.
Yeah. And then they try and act surprised when Hedorah shows up. When they said themselves, let's go there before Hedorah shows up. Like they knew Hedorah was going there. Yeah. And they all show up and they're like, oh no, Hedorah's here. Let's throw rocks at it and then it just eats them.
Yeah. Their intention, by the way, the explanation given is that they're trying to send their love and energy out into the universe. I got
Hedorah. That. I got that.
I know you got that. We have an audience.
I got you. Do we?
Yeah. Fair enough.
We'll see them at Fanime.
Explain it to the ghost, which hopefully I exercised.
Exercise?
Yeah, I exercised it.
Took some laps.
Took it for a jog.
Yeah.
Did some pull-ups.
Took it out on a nice little leash. Let's see. They gave Hedorah this again, it was pretty bizarre. But bizarre even for the film. They gave Hedorah an unnecessary origin story, which is a bit weird. They could have just left it as it literally was born from pollution, but they went out of their way. They really went hard on it. This is when, so I haven't mentioned the human characters. Wasn't planning on it. They're really not that relevant. The main character is a little boy. At least most of the film is from the little boy's perspective. Can't really call any of the human characters the main characters. This is probably the first one where Godzilla is straight up the main character, just because this is the first one that presents him as the hero, right? Mm-hmm. So, but as of the main characters, you have the little boy, his dad. I think it's the older brother, whoever was at the psychedelic bar.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, he's not really that relevant. None of the human characters are that relevant. But of the ones, the little boy and his dad are. Mm-hmm. I'm only bringing them. I'm not going to go back into their whole little narrative. I'm only bringing them up for this. The dad, who's a scientist, he's like studying shit. Like literally, not literally. But he's studying Hedorah. Like he conveniently was studying whatever Hedorah was made of, so that when the kid brings back a little piece of Hedorah, the dad starts studying it, and the dad provides the exposition, if you will.
It wasn't so much that he was studying Hedorah as much as he was studying
that's what I mean.
Local marine life, and somebody just who happens to bring him a shit tadpole that happens to be a piece of Hedorah.
That's what I mean. He conveniently was studying whatever would be the most convenient thing for him to naturally then start studying Hedorah.
Got it.
Like biology wise.
Got it.
He provides the exposition of how Hedorah is like, as you know, essentially if you cut off one piece, like it's like at a cellular level, they're like individual microorganisms. So if you cut off one piece, they'll like just come back together basically. It's like the game, what is it, Katamari? That game where you roll around in a ball and you just keep absorbing everything.
Yeah.
Similar to that. So the dad's there just to provide exposition that those 2D animations can't. So the dad just out of nowhere just starts talking to his son, just explaining where the monster came from. I wrote it down. He explained casually, very casually, about as casually as you would, saying, "You see that bird in the sky, son? That came from our backyard." That's about as casually as he explains that Hedorah came from a star of alien sludge, straight up a black star made, like the entire star is made of this pollution sludge.
I totally forgot about that.
And then he explained that this star exploded, and that from that explosion, Hedorah came down like a piece of the star sludge that grew into Hedorah, came down on a meteorite that is never seen, just casually explaining this, and crashed somewhere, presumably in the ocean. And then pollution, you just start feeding off the pollution, which is conveniently the exact same stuff that the star was made of. And that is the origin story for the monster.
Mm-hmm.
Very bizarre.
Yep.
I also love how no matter what, all of the human characters are very, very chill. They all react to everything in a very casual manner. Oh, there's a giant monster tadpole. It almost killed you. No problem. What's that? It can regen and form another.
Cool. Man, that sounds crazy.
Cool.
Yeah. Wow.
Trippy.
Jeez.
Tubular.
They're all smoking and
it came from it's a literal alien that came from a crashed star. Groovy.
That's wild.
Wild, man. It's all, everyone's just so casual, even amidst the most horrifying things. Like I said, some of the most horrifying things, which is people disintegrating into skeletons. The kid doesn't scream, doesn't do anything. He just walks away. No biggie. I've seen a spirit store. Can't fool me. Let's see. So the big showdown is on Mount Fuji at the Go-Go Party. Hedorah shows up in his final form, and Godzilla shows up, and they have a nice little tussle. And by God, by Jolly, my God, is this an amazing tussle? You got. Unfortunately, the most noteworthy things happen towards the end, in which Hedorah, like, so conveniently, there happens to be a Godzilla-sized grave just dug. So Hedorah like flies over, he like knocks over Godzilla and drags Godzilla into the hole. And then, I'm not kidding when I say that Hedorah then takes a diarrhea dump on Godzilla.
Yep.
Just shits all over Godzilla.
He starts attempting to drown
Godzilla
in his pollutant feces.
Yes, like Hedorah straight up like turns around, crouches over, bends over, and just dumps right into this hole, and it just lingers. Like Godzilla's like flopping around in there. He's like just flinging just this fecal matter just everywhere. It's so.
I would like to note, I love how they earlier established like in an earlier fight, I think the one after Muck is feeding off the smoke stacks at the factory.
Yep.
Muck throws a little bit of himself at Godzilla, and it like burns away his eye and his flesh and whatever.
Godzilla's got a little battle damage from this fight because his eye is like
gone
permanently, he's like permanently blind in one eye in the final fight. Yeah, for the rest of the movie.
And then he gets into this pit. He gets dumped on. Nothing happens to him. There's no dissolving. There's no. Yeah. They don't show any damage being done. They just show him being drowned in feces.
That's a simple explanation, though. It's because Hedorah wasn't. Because remember what you're thinking of whenever Hedorah shoots the acid thing, shooting from its like nipples. It like does like a close up of like a little nipple, and it like and just like shoots it out like a little nuke tube.
Well, but I mean,
so Hedorah didn't do
the explanation specifically though, because remember that it's So it's all supposed to be sulfuric acid. Because remember, it's also being emitted whenever he flies around.
Yes, yeah.
Which he's composed. It's one of the pollutants that his whole body itself is composed of.
Yeah.
So unless their explanation is trying to be like, oh yeah, it's less concentrated when he's just shitting it out of his body.
You didn't let me finish, right?
Okay.
All I meant was that before it was established that he shoots it out of his nipples, right?
Right.
We didn't see that. The explanation is simply he literally was taking a shit on Godzilla. It's not a sulfuric acid. He just literally just felt like just needed to take a crap and just wanted to humiliate Godzilla. That's why it didn't burn. He was just straight up just taking a dump on him.
It didn't burn his body. It burnt his feelings.
It's that simple, really. It was more of a mental attack, if anything.
All right. I guess.
Yeah. The human plot line comes into play at the very end when they build a giant frying pan to cook Hedorah and get a nice steaming dry piece of shit. However, they keep trying to build up this tension where they can't get the power turned on in enough time because these are like giant like walls that like shoot out electricity. Just adding to the bizarre thing because they're trying to say like, come on, man, like just 10 more minutes, we'll get the power. Just 10 more, like every 10 minutes goes by, it's like 20 more minutes. Like they keep Hedorah's like in between. It's like you gotta do it now. Like 10 more minutes.
You need 5 more minutes, guys.
Yeah. They keep trying to build up this tension, and then Godzilla just uses his atomic breath on the walls, and it just fries them anyway. Yeah. I wrote that down as just bizarre as the rest of the film because Godzilla just knows what these walls are, and just knows that his atomic breath will not destroy these things as he destroys everything else, but instead will power them up like a solar panel. But yeah, so Hedorah fries, turns to dust. Godzilla just gets revenge for just a massive dumping that was taken on him because he just rips Hedorah's balls out and fries them.
Yeah. Oh, you are almost forgetting the best scene in the whole movie.
Oh no, I didn't forget that. I was just about to get to that. Because remember, Godzilla rips out the eggs is what they were, but he rips out.
I thought that was his eyes or something.
Yeah, it was his eyes. The white metal or the white ball crystals are Hedorah's eyes. That's what the scientist explains.
Oh, I must have missed that. Anyway, he pulls out 2 giant round white testicles, fries them, fries Hedorah, thinks it's over. Literally see Hedorah fried, like visually it is over. And then just out of nowhere, Hedorah gets back up and is unfried and flies away.
Like shoots out.
Yeah, it's like one of his previous forms suddenly flies out of the inside of the fried husk.
He gave birth.
Yeah.
And it flies away. And this leads to arguably, debatably, the most iconic moment out of the entire franchise when Godzilla flies. He just salutes the soldiers on the ground, turns around, tucks his tail up, and just propels himself with his mouth, flies over, crashes into Hedorah, and just drags that sad sack of shit back over to the frying pan, and just kills him. Yeah. That's basically that's all I got in the movie. I do have some trivia notes.
An amazingly composed, like upbeat, inspirational song.
Oh, everything flawless.
Yeah,
it's almost as hyped as when America launched the first space shuttle to the moon. It's just it's like that.
You're going. It's a little different. Anyway.
Well, I'm saying like the theme of the mood of the music.
Yeah, no, I got you.
Yeah,
I just thought you were taking that in a different direction.
Oh, my bad.
Thought you were about to say it's kind of like how we launched the first nuke.
No.
Anyway, so what did you guys think of Godzilla vs. Hedorah? I do have some very interesting notes, so I do want to get to these before we wrap up.
The movie overall, I didn't hate it. But I'd give it I'd give it like a muck out of a Pikachu. Not great, but not terrible.
Okay, seems legit.
I thought the movie was very acidy, not as trippy as the other kid movie.
Oh yeah,
but it's still up there. And I would give it like 5 poop emojis.
There we go.
I unironically like this movie. It's just so bizarre. You can't discredit it. It is, for better or for worse, it does have somehow everything about it is unique. That is what I'll say about that one. But let's get into some really quick notes,
Right
shall
before
we?
that.
Huh?
Right before that. So the one note that I wanted to loop around to,
yeah.
if I could.
Yeah, go for it.
Something that bugged me about Space Amoeba,
Yes.
and I guess
you're
sort
really
of bugged me
wrapping
about
back
Godzilla versus Hedorah, is Space Amoeba almost has no point to the movie. I couldn't find a solid theme other than when the amoeba infects our main
villain.
Gollum. Yeah. Gollum's about to start going around, and like his goal from the space villain is to kill the bats on the island, so that way the bats can't emit supersonic frequencies and kill him.
Yeah.
And then it's like the female lead is just like, fight it, have honor, you're a human being, use the power of your soul. And then he's just like randomly like, yeah, I'll use the power of my soul.
Then he jumps into a volcano.
So I guess the message, so my note on that is like, human spirit and honor equals point of the movie? Question mark.
Point of the movie is to jump into volcanoes.
Versus Godzilla versus Hedorah, which is very clearly pollution is bad to the point where you're being bludgeoned with it almost throughout the entirety of the movie.
Yeah. And again, for Space Amoeba, I really do think the intention was just to make just a fun monster movie, but I do think they just were so pressured by Toho that they couldn't expand on what they wanted. Because again, originally they like the ending that sounded amazing, badass.
If they really should have stuck to their guns and made a monster world. If they didn't have the budget to do like global destruction, they should have just been like, yeah, hey, here's 3 monsters on an island fighting each other.
It's not just the budget, and this one I don't exactly blame you for not keeping in mind in context, because you did join in late to the party.
Yep, fair enough.
As Sean wasn't here.
Oh yeah. Well, this is
this is deep fried cuttlefish.
Cuttlefish.
Who's the Sean person of which you speak?
Is
that the name of our ghost?
Yeah. Okay.
It was. Anyway, what has been very clear at this point, just like it's basically a tradition, whether it's intentional or not, like whether it's for one reason or another, almost all of these movies have had a pattern of, no matter the budget, whether it's big or next to nothing, they've all had a pattern of being extremely rushed to the point where most of the films from the past like 5 years, as in like the last like 5 to 6 movies, have been filmed, like script wrote and film finished in less than a month.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
All of the, keep in mind, these are being pumped out every single year with one instance of 2 Godzilla movies coming out within just a couple months of each other. Plenty of instances where these non-Godzilla films come out in the same year as the Godzilla movies. So they're cranking these out. At this point, 1971. So it hasn't even been 20 years since Gojira. Mm-hmm. Almost 20 years. And this is the 25th, 26th film. That's they pumping these things out. So it's not just the budget, although Toho has been, again, in recent years, they were getting very stingy with the budgets because these films have been earning less and less for whatever reason. They're also historically have been known, at least at this point, due to that studio system, which again was dissolved after Space Amoeba. They were extremely, extremely tight on even production. So I would attribute that more so than the budget. Okay. Had they been given like 3 months to make, and this is again, I don't know how long it took to make Space Amoeba. I'm assuming it was about a month. Had they been given 3 months, which is pretty average for the earlier films, I do think they could have made it work. But yeah, there definitely wasn't a point to Space Amoeba because I think the intention was just a good old fashioned monster movie. Okay. Godzilla vs. Hedorah was a different story.
Yeah.
Which brings me to some of these fun facts. New director. I didn't mention this before. New director, new composer, new special effects guy.
Yep.
Whole new team. This is the first and last film directed by Yoshimitsu Banno. Rest in peace. Music in this one is done by Riichiro Manabe. No idea if they come back. Probably. Okay, here we go. Special effects. Teruyoshi Nakano. That wasn't bad.
Yeah, which he actually did a pretty good job. I will say the effects looked a lot better than Space Amoebas.
Yes, just like the rest of the film, the special effects were unique. Not in a negative context. The film genuinely was unique. It was its own thing. So yeah, whole new cast of characters. A lot of these notes are chronologically. No.
Chronic.
No. Chronicling. Nope, that's not a thing.
Chronicles.
Close. Anyway, a lot of these notes. Is that the ghost? Sorry about that.
Trying to smoke the chronic. Is that what you're saying?
No. A lot of these notes chronicle the life of Mr. Bono. So I'll get to the one note that isn't about Bono himself. Shall I?
Sure.
The suit actor who played Hedorah had appendicitis during production.
Huh.
And had surgery during production. However, props to the surgeons. That suit took so long to take off, he had to do surgery in the suit.
What?
Rip.
They performed his operation inside that massive, ugly, nasty suit.
Does it say which version of the suit? Is it the flying saucer one? Is it his
the
initial
saucer one definitely
pod?
wasn't a suit. That was clearly just like a model.
Okay,
it didn't
fair
move.
enough.
I can only assume it was the final form, the largest one. I can only assume that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's the one trivia fact that isn't about the director.
Was it like an emergency surgery? Like he needed it? He was gonna die.
I don't know about that. But it was an emergency. Like they performed it like basically on set.
Oh Jesus.
Anyway, so let's. I'll close it off. Okay, let's talk about this director for a quick minute, shall we? And then we'll wrap up.
Oh wait, we're not doing our alternate titles this week.
I'm going to end off with that.
Okay,
I do have some for this. I don't have any alternate titles for Space Amoeba. The U.S. title for Space Amoeba is Yog, the Space Monster, or something like that. That's just the U.S. title. It's not like a noteworthy thing.
Okay.
But I do have some fun ones for this film. But the director, Yoshimitsu Banno. This was his directorial debut. And right from the beginning, the odds were stacked against him. The Toho gave him a significantly lower budget than any previous film. He was only given 35 days to shoot the entire movie. This one you also wouldn't realize. Historically, when a director was given this type of a time frame, what they did was that they split the production between several different teams, meaning in like 30 days, one team did just the monster effects, one team did just the human drama stuff, right?
Okay.
So they shot it all at the same time. They didn't give him that luxury. They said, you have 35 days to do everything. And he only was given one team to film things on.
No
so that's
sleep then.
That's quite impressive considering how well it turned out, like all things considered. So yeah, right from the get-go, the odds were stacked against him. I don't have budget or box office stats for this one. I can safely say that just due to the history, like the timeline of the end of the Showa era, it did not perform exceptionally well. I can safely say that much just because, again, at this point in time, historically, these films have been earning less and less. This wasn't the film to just all of a sudden just start breaking records. It probably made more than the budget, considering that they basically gave him nothing, but it probably was still declining just historically if you looked at it on like a yearly timeline.
Right.
But I don't have that information. Critically, it was about what you'd expect. It was kind of mixed. Just because of how just whack it was. However, Banno himself was incredibly proud of the final result, which good for him. It, again, was unique. It was whack-tacular, but it's its own thing. He began immediately working on a sequel after this first film. And that sequel was almost immediately scrapped by the producer, Tomoyuki Tanaka, who is, I've never mentioned him before. He's a pretty high up there producer, at least in Toho back then. Like he's if I remember correctly, he's been one of the main producers for almost every one of these films. So yeah, Mr. Tanaka hated the movie. He hated the movie so much that when this film came out, just to clarify, he had no idea what this film, how it was going, because he was unfortunately in the hospital for like that entire month the film was shot. So he approved I can only assume he approved the script, but then he like was basically not involved in production whatsoever. So he saw this film basically for the first time when it came out. And he hated it so much that he banned Bono from ever directing another film at Toho Studios. Just permanently put him on the ban list.
Jesus.
And reportedly, he directly told Bono to his face that he personally ruined Godzilla as a franchise over this one film.
Wow.
Yeah. There is plenty of information on what the conceptualized sequel would have been, though. The concept for the sequel would have had Godzilla fight a mutant starfish named Deathla. Yes. Bono himself, that was the concept. That wasn't the sequel that he was pursuing before he got banned. that was just the initial thought. Bono himself scrapped that idea to instead pursue a direct sequel, Godzilla vs. Hedorah 2, in which, classic Bono, Godzilla would fight a second Hedorah in Africa, of all places.
Of course, Africa. Great choice and location.
Yes. This was the version that was immediately scrapped by the producer when he got out of the hospital and realized what a mistake he had made. However, you gotta hand it to the director, Yoshimitsu Bono, because he didn't give up. He would then go on to spend many, many years after this film, 1971. He would go on to spend decades trying to lobby for a chance at a sequel. Obviously, Toho never budged, but he did get very damn close with a U.S. company, to the point where he basically got funding to produce a 40-minute long IMAX film that was going to be titled Godzilla 3D to the Max. This was back in 2007. I remember hearing about this. I was very excited for this. And then it just never happened. So it was announced it was going to release theatrically in America. This was going to be like the first, well, not first. This was going to be another like a U.S. exclusive, like American produced film. He just spent like 3 decades just getting rejected by Toho. So he went overseas and pitched it to us, and they were like, "Yeah, fuck it, go for it." So yeah, 2000. It was announced that it was going to come out in U.S. theaters. 2007. Godzilla 3D to the Max, 40-minute long IMAX film, which was going to feature Godzilla fighting basically Hedorah. It was just Hedorah, but it was red, and it was also named Deathla, and it would have just been like just one long fight starting in New Mexico and ending in Las Vegas. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. No idea how long that was actually in production. It just had a release date of 2007. And then it was just stuck in development hell for years until eventually that was scrapped in favor of the 2014 Godzilla. Rest in peace. Even as early as 2013, though, this guy was still holding on. Because in 2013, during interviews for the 2014 Godzilla film, because out of respect, they gave him, I don't know if he was had a job during production or if they gave him like a role as an extra, but he was involved with the 2014 film to an extent. So during that press tour or whatever, he still said he still wanted to make a sequel to Godzilla vs. Hedorah when all this was said and done. Unfortunately, he passed away in 2017. So this man lobbied his first and I don't know if it was his only movie, his first and only Toho film, all the way to the day he died. What a legend.
Jesus.
What a legend. We can only hope that one day someone carries the torch.
Someone take over.
Someone revives Godzilla versus Hedorah. It's Godzilla versus Deathla.
Mm-hmm.
God, what a film that would have been. Let's wrap this up with some alternate titles, shall we?
All right.
Yeah.
I got 4. One of them is just a U.S. name, which is Godzilla versus the Smog Monster.
Mhm.
Pretty fitting.
Makes sense.
Makes sense. Unlike these next 3. I'm going to start off from the most tame to the most bizarre, shall I? Let's
Right
start
ahead.
off with Spain.
Hmm.
Hedorah, the toxic bubble.
That's not entirely off base,
Not entirely off base. Still weird.
especially in the flying saucer form.
Especially in the flying saucer form.
But yeah, still definitely very weird.
Very weird. Not as weird as Germany.
Oh,
What do you
great.
imagine Germany's title is? Go ahead.
Frankenstein flights pollution.
Toxic
Ooh.
Frankenstein?
Ooh, you're both so close. Frankenstein's battle against the devil's monster. That is Germany's title for Godzilla versus Hedorah, aka Godzilla versus the Smog Monster. I'll say it once again.
Gosh.
Frankenstein's battle against the devil's monster. Who's Frankenstein in this situation? Who's the devil's monster? I don't know. I don't know.
Gosh.
Somehow that's not as weird as the Netherlands.
Oh boy.
Oh yeah, they one-upped Frankenstein's battle against the devil's monster by just calling this movie Satan's Creature.
I mean,
Satan's Creature, ladies and gentlemen. Satan's Creature.
huh.
No comment.
Join us next time when we talk about the next 2 films.
Which will be
Godzilla versus Gigan.
Ooh.
And
Oh.
I'm so excited. Godzilla versus Megalon. I'm your host. Okay.